Thieving Tales. Here was a poor farmer who had 3 sons, and on the same day the 3 boys went to seek their fortune. The eldest 2 were sensible young men. The youngest, Jack, never did much at home that was any use. He loved to be setting snares for rabbits and inventing all sorts of funny tricks to annoy people at first and then set them laughing. The 3 parted at crossroads, and Jack took the lonesomest. The day turned out rainy, and he was wet and weary, you may depend. At nightfall, when he came to a lonesome house a little off the road. "What do you want?" said a bleary-eyed old woman, who was sitting at the fire. "My supper and a bed to be sure," said he. "You can't get it," said she. "What's to hinder me?" said he. "The owners of this house," said she, "6 tough men that go out until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning each night. And if they find you when they get back, they'll skin you alive at the very least." "Well, I think," said Jack, "that their very most couldn't be much worse. Come, give me something out of the cupboard, for here I'll stay. Skinning is not much worse than catching your death of cold in a ditch or under a tree such a night as this." Well, she grew afraid, and gave him a good supper, and when he was going to bed he said if she let any of the 6 honest men disturb him when they came home she'd be sorry for it. But when he awoke in the morning, there were 6 ugly-looking rascals standing round his bed. He leaned on his elbow and looked at them with great contempt. "Who are you?" said the chief, "and what's your business?" "My name," said he, "is Master Thief, and my business just now is to find apprentices and workmen. If I find you any good, maybe I'll give you a few lessons." They were a little cowed by that, and said the head man, "Well, get up, and after breakfast, we'll see who is to be the master, and who the apprentice." They were just done breakfast, when what should they see but a farmer driving a fine large goat to market. He took her to the treasure cave, and while she was in raptures, gazing at the heaps of gold and silver, Jack filled his pockets as full as they could hold, put more into a little bag, and walked out, locking the door on the old hag, and leaving the key in the lock. He then put on a rich suit of clothes, took the goat and the sheep and the bullock, and drove them before him to the farmer's house. Johanna and her husband were at the door, and when they saw the animals, they clapped their hands and laughed for joy. "Do you know who owns these beasts, neighbors?" "Sure, they're ours. I found them straying in the wood." "Is that bag with 10 guineas in it that's hung round the goat's neck yours?" "Faith, it isn't." "Well, you may as well keep it for a godsend. I don't want it." "Heaven be in your road, good gentlemen." Jack traveled on till he came to his father's house in the dusk of the evening. He went in and said, "God save all here." "God save you kindly, sir. Could I have a night's lodging here?" "Oh, sir, our place isn't fit for the likes of a gentleman such as you." "Oh, come now. Don't you know your own son?" Well, they opened their eyes, and it was only a fight to see who'd have him in their arms first. "But, Jack, where did you get the fine clothes?" "Oh, you may as well ask me where I got all that money," said he, emptying his pockets on the table. Well, they got in a great fright, but when he told them his adventures, they were easier in their minds, and all went to bed in great content. "Father," said Jack, next morning, "go over to the landlord and tell him I wish to be married to his daughter." "Faith, I'm afraid he'd only set the dogs on me. If he asks me how you made your money, what'll I say? Tell him I am a master thief, and that there is no one equal to me in the 3 kingdoms, that I am worth 1,000 pounds, and all taken from the biggest rogues unhanged. Speak to him when the young lady is by. It's a strange message you're sending me on. I'm afraid it won't end well." The old man came back in 2 hours. "Well, what news?" "Strange news enough. The lady didn't seem a bit unwilling. I suppose it's not the first time you spoke to her," and the squire laughed, and said you would have to steal the goose off o' the spit in his kitchen next Sunday, and he'd see about it. "Oh, that won't be hard, anyway." Next Sunday, after the people came from early mass, the squire and all his people were in the kitchen, and the goose turning before the fire. The kitchen door opened, and a miserable old beggar man with a big wallet on his back put in his head. "Would the mistress have anything for me when dinner is over, your honor?" "To be sure. We have no room here for you just now. Sit in the porch for a while." "God bless your honor's family, and yourself." Soon someone sitting near the window cried out, "Oh, sir, there's a big hare scampering like the devil round the yard. Will we run out and catch it?" "Catch a hare indeed. Much chance you'd have. Sit where you are." That hare made its escape into the garden, but Jack, who was in the beggar's clothes, soon let another out of the bag. "Oh, master, there it is still running round. It can't make its escape. Let us have a chase. The hall door is locked on the inside, and Mr. Jack can't get in. Stay quiet, I tell you." In a few minutes he shouted out again that the hare was there still, but it was the third that Jack was just after giving its liberty. Well, after that the servants couldn't be kept in any longer. Out raced every mother's son of them, and the squire after them. "Shall I turn the spit, your honor, while they're catching the hare?" said the beggar. "Do, and don't let anyone in for your life." "Faith, and I won't, you may depend on it." The third hare got away after the others, and when they all came back from the hunt, there was neither beggar nor goose in the kitchen. "Credit to you, Jack," said the landlord. "You've outdone me this time." Well, while they were thinking of making another dinner, a messenger came from Jack's father to beg that the squire and the mistress and the young lady would step across the fields and take share of what God sent. There was no dirty mean pride about the family, and they walked over and got a dinner with roast turkey and roast beef and their own roast goose, and the squire had like to burst his waistcoat with laughing at the trick, and Jack's good clothes and good manners did not take away any liking the young lady had for him already. While they were taking their punch at the old oak table in the nice clean little parlor with the sanded floor, the squire said, "You can't be sure of my daughter, Jack, unless you steal away my 6 horses from under the 6 men that will be watching them tomorrow night in the stable." "I'll do more than that," said Jack, for a pleasant look from the young lady, and the young lady's cheeks turned as red as fire. Monday night the 6 horses were in their stalls, and a man on every horse, and a good glass of whiskey under every man's waistcoat, and the door was left wide open for Jack. They were merry enough for a long time, and joked and sang, and were pitying the poor fellow. But the small hours crept on, and the whiskey lost its power, and they began to shiver and wish it was morning. A miserable old beggar woman, with half a dozen bags, and a beard half an inch long on her chin, came to the door. "Ah, then, tender-hearted men," said she, "would you let me in and allow me a wisp of straw in the corner? The life will be froze out of me, if you don't give me shelter." Well, they didn't see any harm in that, and she made herself as snug as she could, and they soon saw her pull out a big black bottle and take a sup. She coughed and smacked her lips, and seemed a little more comfortable, and the men couldn't take their eyes off her. "Good men," said she, "I'd offer you a drop of this, only you might think it too free-making." "Oh, hang all pride," said one, "we'll take it, and thank ye." So she gave them the bottle, and they passed it round, and the last man had the manners to leave half a glass in the bottom for the old woman. They all thanked her, and said it was the best drop ever passed their tongue. "Ah well," said she, "it's myself that's glad to show how I value your kindness in giving me shelter. I'm not without another bottle, and you may pass it round while myself finishes what the kindly man left me." Well, what they drank out of the other bottle only gave them a relish for more, and by the time the last man got to the bottom, the first man was dead asleep in the saddle, for the second bottle had a sleeping draught mixed with the whiskey. The beggar woman lifted each man down, and laid him in the manger, or under the manger, snug and comfy, drew a stocking over every horse's hoof, and led them away without any noise to one of Jack's father's outhouses. The first thing the squire saw next morning was Jack riding up the avenue, and 5 horses stepping after the one he rode. "Confound you, Jack," said he, "and confound the numbskulls that let you outwit them." He went out to the stable, and didn't the poor fellows look very ashamed o' themselves, when they could be woken up in earnest? "After all," said the squire, when they were sitting at breakfast, "it was no great thing to outwit such ninny hammers. I'll be riding out on the common from 1 to 3 today, and if you can outwit me of the beast I'll be riding, I'll say you deserve to be my son-in-law." "I'd do more than that," said Jack, "for the honor, if there was no love at all in the matter," and the young lady held up her saucer before her face. Well, the squire kept riding about till he was tired, and no sign of Jack. He was thinking of going home at last, when what should he see but one of his servants running from the house as if he was mad. "Oh, master, master," said he, as far as he could be heard, "fly home if you wish to see the poor mistress alive. I'm running for the surgeon. She fell down the stairs, and her neck, or her hips, or both her arms are broke, and she's speechless, and it's a mercy if you find the breath in her. Fly as fast as the beast will carry you. But hadn't you better take the horse? It's 1.5 miles to the surgeon's." "Oh, anything you like, master." "Oh, mistress, mistress, that I should ever see the day. And your pretty body disfigured as it is. Here, stop your noise, and be off like wildfire. Oh, my darling, isn't this a trial?" He tore home like a fury, and wondered to see no stir outside, and when he flew into the hall, and from that to the parlor, his wife and daughter who were sewing at the table screeched out at the rush he made, and the wild look that was on his face. "Oh, my darling," said he, when he could speak, "how's this? Are you hurt? Didn't you fall down the stairs? What happened at all? Tell me." "Why, nothing at all happened, thank God, since you rode out. Where did you leave the horse?" Well, no one could describe the state he was in for about 1/4 hour, between joy for his wife and anger with Jack, and shame for being tricked. The servant didn't make his appearance for a week, choosing to keep a safe distance for a while, but what did the squire care with Jack's 10 golden guineas in his pocket? Jack didn't show his nose till next morning, and it was a queer reception he met. "That was all foul play you gave," said the squire. "I'll never forgive you for the shock you gave me. But then I am so happy ever since, that I think I'll give you only one trial more. If you will take away the sheet from under my wife and myself tonight, the marriage may take place tomorrow." "We'll try," said Jack, "but if you keep my bride from me any longer, I'll steal her away even if she was minded by fiery dragons." When the squire and his wife were in bed, and the moon was shining in through the window, he saw a head rising over the sill to have a peep, and then bobbing down again. "That's Jack," said the squire, pointing a gun at the lower pane. "I'll astonish him a bit." "Oh Lord, my dear," said the wife, "sure, you wouldn't shoot the brave fellow?" "Indeed, and I wouldn't for a kingdom, there's no bullet in it." Up went the head, bang went the gun, down dropped the body, and a great crash was heard on the gravel walk. "Oh, Lord," said the lady, "poor Jack is killed or disabled for life." "I hope not," said the squire, and down the stairs he ran. He never minded to shut the door, but opened the gate and ran into the garden. His wife heard his voice at the room door, before he could be under the window and back, as she thought. "Wife, wife," said he from the door. The sheet, the sheet. He is not killed, I hope, but he is bleeding like a pig. I must wipe it away as well as I can, and get someone to carry him in with me." She pulled it off the bed, and threw it to him. Down he ran like lightning, and he had hardly time to be in the garden, when he was back, and this time he came back in his shirt, as he went out. "High hanging to you, Jack," said he, "for an errant rogue." "Errant rogue," said she. "Isn't the poor fellow all cut and bruised?" "I don't much care if he was." "What do you think was bobbing up and down at the window, and fell down so heavy on the walk?" "A man's clothes stuffed with straw, and a couple of stones." "And what did you want with the sheet just now, to wipe his blood if he was only a man of straw?" "Sheet, woman." "I wanted no sheet." "Well, whether you wanted it or not, I threw it to you, and you standing outside o' the door." "Oh, Jack, Jack, you terrible tinker," said the squire. "There's no use in striving with you. We must do without the sheet for one night. We'll have the marriage tomorrow to get ourselves out of trouble." So married they were, and Jack turned out to be a good husband. And the squire and his lady were never tired of praising their son-in-law, Jack the cunning thief.
Stories.